I have spoken to so many African heads of state and government and foreign ministers in the last 10 or 15 years. They admire China. They're grateful to China for the generosity of Chinese aid, but they do not think the Chinese model is replicable in their societies. They look on it as something in many ways impressive and awe-inspiring, but utterly foreign to them.
But not for
them.
them.
They cannot be China. They cannot try to be like China. They look at India and they say, now there's a mess just like us. They have the same sorts of problems. They have the poverty. They have the divisions. We may have clans. They may have castes. If they can triumph over these problems, we can learn from them. This is the message I'm getting. They don't believe they can learn from China. And I don't agree with Martin.
You're a the point I'd like to emphasize is that the Chinese never consider themselves to be a model. Because the way the Chinese think is that they are always different. Chinese civilization is very distinct. So therefore, they don't have the kind of evangelist or missionary thinking of the West, of the Americans, will be like us. Our constitution is a model for your political arrangements and so on. The Chinese don't think like that. So it's important to recognize that the Chinese don't have an idea of exporting their model. What I mean by that, and you're right, in some countries it's not been relevant. But the countries, if they're looking for an example, look at China and think, well, is there anything that this can offer us?
Okay, now we can come back to democracy and democracy.
So I was going to say, I mean, on the plus side of the ledger, demographics plus system of government, democracy. China, though, is just simply scale, the size of the place, number of people, etc. Plus their system, like it or not, they get things done. And you say what?
And look, between 1981 and 2011, the Chinese pulled 753 million people out from below their poverty line. If you took it at $1.90 a day, that's how many people crossed above that line. We have done, at best, and not for the whole 30 years, for about 15 years, we've done about 10 million people a year, so 150 million people. Smaller numbers in other years, so maybe we'll get to about 250 in the same time China got to 750. So we know the Chinese have done well, and I'm not knocking that. But just 2 or 3 cautionary notes, and I will mention democracy and demography. The first is the wariness about our linear projections, including Martin's. Because the fact is, I went to graduate school in the States in the 70s, and subsequently in the 80s, I saw all these bestsellers with titles like Japan as #1. Yes. What happened? Yeah. Where did Japan take over the world? Do you remember those leaked CIA reports from 1976-78? There were hearings held in the American House of Congress saying the Soviet Union was going to outstrip America by every yardstick and take over the world. People have been wrong in the past. And assuming that as circumstances change, that you can just continue saying, well, China used to grow at 9% compounded, now it'll grow at 7% compounded. It doesn't work that way. First of all, those percentages are being questioned every year. You may remember this year the target was supposed to be 7%. The Chinese have knocked it down to a range of between 6.5 to 7. The IMF says 6.3. And the IMF says next year will be 6 and it'll stay below that for 5 years. So already the numbers and projections are being questioned by international authorities. And then, when the fundamentals change, the linear projection becomes fallible. So if, for example, China is going to go through a massive structural change into becoming a more domestic consumption-driven economy, which looks like it's necessary, you may not have this kind of growth figure anymore. Democracy, why is democracy relevant? India is messy. I mean, the Chinese they went from 0 kilometers of 6-lane expressways in 1996 to 150,000 kilometers of 6-lane expressways in 2016, 10 years. And they did it basically by drawing a line on the map and bulldozing anything in the path. Doesn't matter if it was a village, if it was an ancient cemetery, whatever, nothing. They did it, and they've created this magnificent infrastructure. In India, our entire national highway network is 92,000. Most of them are 4-lane. Some of them are 2-lane that they call national highways. We hardly have any 6-lane expressways. And if you want to widen a 2-lane road in India, you will have protesters, you will have people refusing to sell you their land, they'll be going to court over compensation entitlements. The leftist parties will show up with red flags and hold dharnas and objections. Bollywood stars will come and conduct hunger strikes. Your road is not going to get widened for 4 years. And that's simply the way we are in India, right?
And you still would have the permit Raj as well.
Now that's on one side of it. However, It does mean that when change comes, everyone has been eventually brought along. It's been messy, untidy, it's been problematic, there's been dissent, but everyone comes along and the system moves. The liberalization of 1991 was a major paradigm shift. Since then, almost every single political party in the country, including one of the communist parties, has had a share in government, has been in one or the other government. Not one of them is reverse liberalization. China, what happens is everything is a top-down repressive system. It's like a limousine of states that's going on cruise control on a 6-lane expressway. What happens if it suddenly hits an unexpected pothole? The axle might break. There are simply no bets as to what will happen if suddenly the politics gets out of control, if there's serious dissent, if there's serious unrest politically. India, the system allows you to find ways out. The pressure cooker has a safety valve. In China, we're not sure there is one.
So